This is again something usually high on the interest of mutual fund investors. Alicia asks, what parameters should be constantly monitored in order to know when to exit or when to stay invested in a fund?
Uh, in fact, the biggest driver for somebody to evaluate should be is does not lie with the fund. You remember the earlier question that we got, that daughter's wedding is 18 months away. I have accumulated this money. You should start selling it, even if the fund is great, because 18 months time for your 6 years accumulation is a good way of de-risking completely from eliminating. So one is your goal. If you're approaching a goal, by all means, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years time, because I would say that the money that you need in your retirement, your lifetime accumulation in a fund, you should be disinvesting a part of money which you need in the next 3 years post retirement, 3 years in advance, and keep that money in fixed income fund so that you're completely free from any anxiety. Which means if you are going to retire at the age of 70, 60, and you are 57-year-old and you have accumulated all your savings, estimate how much money you need when you turn 60 till 63. If you are likely to need 50,000 rupees a month, which means you will need 18 lakh rupees in next 3 years when you turn 60, and you are thinking about it when you are 57-year-old. So put that 18 lakh rupees in fixed income fund gradually. Disinvest 50,000 rupees in these 3 years and put that money in fixed income fund. So you'll be completely free from anxiety. And after that, you will get 3 years more to think about an appropriate time to initiate the same disinvestment plan. If you follow this simple withdrawal plan, but make sure that all your accumulation, this withdrawal, your annual consumption, which is 6 lakh rupee, should not exceed normally your 6% of your accumulation. Because if you accelerate your withdrawal, you have to be conscious of that. If you start consuming 20% of your money in 1 year's time, your money will be gone. You would have consumed that money. So make sure that you are accumulating and adjusting your budgets of consumption, which is in line with all that you have accumulated so far. So you should have a appropriate withdrawal rate. You should be thinking about these goal. That is one. The other most important reason is when your fund turns bad and remains bad for a prolonged period of time. What is that prolonged period of time? I think that is a variable prolonged period of time. If there is a fund with a 5 year life and have was doing exceptionally well, and you invested 2 years back, and after you invested for 1 year it was doing well, and in the last 1 year it has started doing poorly. uh, Look at it. Relative poor performance compared to other funds of similar kind should should prompt you to sell your investment. But how poor? Just because market is falling, your funds are falling, that doesn't mean that you should consider selling. Because a lot of investors get prompted by the decline in value itself. But if you are holding a fund which is doing better than most other funds, you are in an excellent fund. Decline in value in line with the market is very much a essential part of investing. That is what optimizes return. So relative poor performance, a decline in rating could be one of the first symbols. If a fund slips from a 5 star to 4 star to 3 star, I would worry. And a slip from a 3 star to 2 star, I'll be looking at it very closely. Then comes longevity of a fund. If there is a fund with a 20-year compelling track record, we had a recent situation like that. I would be, I would be giving myself a year's time for a relatively poor performance. I don't think a slip in performance for a brief period of time, investors should not jump on to sell. Uh, Also, future course changes. There could be a prolonged period when a fund is doing poorly. But if a fund has a long track record of 20 years and being right most of the time, I would be willing to give it little more time, but not beyond a point. I think 2.5 years is more than enough. 1 year of relative poor performance for a not so long history is a good enough for you to pull the plug.